Hey everyone. So my talk is called JavaScript 2 Enterprise Edition. I'm gonna come back to that title later on. First of all, about me, I work as Sinnerschrader, which are those people here. I do work on a meta object system for JavaScript called Joose, and I'm blogging at nonblocking.io. And inspired by this nice IKEA sofa, I'm on Twitter as Kremforce. So first of all, when I said I was going to speak at JSConf, my employer asked me to say a few nice words about Sinnerschrader, so you all want to work there. So we come to that, blah, 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 but I have some important facts. There's currently one server-side JS project in production. There's 2 active CouchDB projects running. There's one server-side JS project in development. There's 2 Erlang projects in planning, and there's $10 million in the bank. So that's so much for Sinnerschrader. Topic today is J2E. And why is it J2E? Some people called Joose J2E. And I'm going to talk about why there could be that kind of misconception. I want to have a quote from Jan Almeyer, who was talking this morning and said, Malte and the Joose fork are always pushing the boundaries on munging JavaScript to their whim. So put up this small picture here. That's what we do. Embracing and extending the language. And what you end up in the end is something like this, like, when you look at this picture, that's working because there's no complexity, of course. So, yeah, J2E. I don't suppose everybody hates me now, but I still had to put these up here. So let's start over. What is Joose? Joose is a meta object system for JavaScript. So of course, question is why meta? And there's a simple answer in this picture. Strange loops of fun. So I don't know, who here read Gödel, Escher, Bach by Douglas Hofstetter? I'm actually not done yet, but I'm working on it, about 1 page per week. And there's nice pictures in that book. So what's the meta object system? The fun thing about it is this questions like, does the meta class have a meta class, and the meta class of the meta class of the meta class of the meta class, does it have a meta class? And then there's things like Joose is written in itself, so who wrote itself? And there's really simple answer actually. It's JavaScript object literals for the win, which I call loop unrolling for objects. So of course you can't really write something in itself, but you can write the stuff that itself writes down, and that's JavaScript objects. And so that's why, and that's the only reason why I built Joose, is because I wanted to see, can one build a bootstrapping object system in JavaScript, and the answer is yes. So developing Joose itself is fun, so that's why I do it, and developing with Joose, in my opinion, is fun too. So, yeah. And to prove it, I invented this, and I took this from the NeoSQL Berlin meetup, scientific model of object system awesomeness. And it compares a couple languages and their capabilities. Let's start with classes. Of course, Java can do them, Smalltalk pretty much invented them, Ruby has them, in JavaScript you can do it if you know how to do it, of course, and with Joose it's really easy. Prototypes, and you might agree or disagree on some of these points with me, but it doesn't really matter. You can't do them in Java, no way. In Smalltalk, there's of course a way, but you can't really. In Ruby, no, and JavaScript, of course. And with Joose, you can still do them. So it's not really a class system. There's still prototypes around. Same thing with packages. You have them in Java. You have it in newer versions of Smalltalk, but doesn't really work. You have them in Ruby, in JavaScript. Of course, you can emulate them, and the CommonJS folks are working really hard on that. And there's those in Joose. Mixins, the Ruby programmers who didn't boo on the last talk, they know what those are, and you have them in Joose. Then there's traits. I don't know, does everybody know what that is? The trait is something like a more modern concept in object-oriented programming. It's a mixture between a mixin and an interface. So you say, you need to implement that, and for that I give you that, and the stuff that I'm giving you only depends on the stuff that I want from you. And then it's a really simple concept, and it's really powerful. Then there's method modifiers. So say, after that has been done, I want to do something else. That's something that's, of course, really big in JavaScript, hard in other programming languages, and really easy with Joose. And then there's, yeah, of course. But it's more fun if you put fail there. There's type coercions. What are type coercions? You want to have an integer, and somebody puts you a string in there, and you to say ×2, and blah, everything fails. That you can declare in Joose, this is an integer. Whatever you put in there, try to at least convert it to an integer, and do that declaratively. And I don't think that's available in any language. It is like in Perl, Ruby, whatever. They have type coercions for the simple cases, but you can say, I want things that look like a rocket to become a rocket, whatever. So let's have a conclusion here. We have an epic fail on the left side for Java. Smalltalk kind of failed in history. Ruby is medium fail. JavaScript is good for gurus because you can, of course, do all that stuff. It's not so easy most of it, or some of the time. And Joose is the clear winner here. There's one more thing that I forgot. I put, also added couch to be to that list, and it can do none of those things. But I mean, that's kind of apples and oranges. So yeah, let me talk a little bit about Joose. It's all about embracing JavaScript because I love the language. And it gives you a large hammer when you need increased expressivity. So in German, that's einfach hinschreiben, simply write it down. And next up, I have a couple examples for doing stuff with Joose. First one is this, how to write a point. You say, okay, this is a class, and it's called point, and it has two instance variables. One of them is x, the other one is y. X is writable and readable, and y is writable and readable, and both are initialized with 0 unless another form of initializer is provided. And there's also a method, and it's called clear. Really easy, and that's the JavaScript object, and you can instantiate it, you can call methods. There's those magic setX and setY methods because you declared that those instance variables have accessors with the is RW for is read writable. And then of course you want to do inheritance, and you have the class point3d, and it is a point, and it has another instance variable called the, and after clear has been called on the object, we want to clear z2, so we put it there. So I was talking about method modifiers. After there's a method modifier, there's also before, there's around, there's override, there's augment. Augment is cool. I'm not going to talk about it, but it's for weird minds. You can look it up. So that's classes. There's, of course, modules. And you can put classes and modules, really boring. I was talking about traits. Actually, in Joose, they call it roles because they're not true traits because they do have state, not in this case. And we declare that the role comparable requires classes or prototypes implementing that role to provide the method comparable. If you do that, you're so nice, then you will get those methods equal to, greater than or equal to, which you can then apply to a class when you say the class currency does comparable and has the method compare, so that class now can be asked to be equal to something else. So much for roles. Let's go on to prototypes. So you can declare prototypes in Joose. I'm going to go more into what meta classes are in particular. So difference between something declared as a prototype and something declared as a class is that things declared as a prototype, every instance that is created will get its own meta class instance. So whenever you make changes via that meta class to the object, then they will only apply to that very single object. Yeah. So, and by the way, because we are embracing prototypical inheritance, there's a detach method on every every object instantiated from Joose classes that detaches that object from the original meta class instance, and it gets its own, and you can do everything you want. Back to type coercions. Type coercions, you declare a type and it can use something else, and you say where, in this case, if value is larger than 1 and smaller than 5, then that's actually a my small number, and then there is, otherwise it's not, and there is a coerce function that says something from Joose type string is getting coerced to a number via return new number and string. In other words, of course, you can set a string and it will be automatically coerced, and o.myfield times 2 will then alert 6. I think it would otherwise 2, but for a matter of convenience. And that's how it's declared. So in the attribute, you declare this is a Joose type, my small number, and you activate coerce. It has to be activated because it's really expensive and you don't always want it. As you can see, you can declare attributes on attributes. That's of course because attributes do have meta classes too. So not only classes have meta classes, but attributes and methods and whatever do have them too. I think might have been a little boring, but there's more code coming. Because of course, that was all really boring, so let's delve into meta class programming. Declaring a new meta class is really easy. You just declare a class and you inherit from Joose.class, because that's the regular meta class. And then you can declare new methods on the meta class. And there's a special thing that I want to talk about is you've seen those things in class declarations like methods and has and is a. Those are actually methods which will be eventually called in the meta class, so you can completely control what they do. And you can declare more of those properties. Like in this case, we're programming stuff to enable us to declare events within classes. So here we define that method handle prop events, and then afterwards, I go forward. You have a class declaration. You say the meta class of this class is the controller meta class, and then you can have those events properties and declare events which will be bound to the documents and which other things can publish to. So that's just a way to declaratively declare stuff, which is cool. And while I was working on this presentation, actually on the way back from Berlin to where I live in Hamburg, I had an idea. And I tweeted it, of course, before I started working on it. That, of course, it's really ugly that declaring handle, prop, events, whatever, name mangling, not done well. So we can make that even nicer if you use meta-meta programming. And So I implemented actually within the Joose class handle properties, and there. And now the original source code looks like this. So now the new meta class can declare that it implements the property events, which is, in my world, way nicer than name angling. And of course, now you can also more easily override whatever that handle properties do, and yeah, it's fun. Anyway, that's so much for the short introduction to Joose. There's always the question, does it come with overhead? Yes. Using Joose will really slow your application down about this much. So it's not really slow, and if you're doing, for example, jQuery programming, and at document ready time you're binding stuff to a class, to all objects or all tags with a certain class, that takes a while, and it's so much slower than compiling normal Joose code that it doesn't really matter. So you can use it, and we do use it in production quite a lot. Speaking of the DOM, it's tested well to work with jQuery prototype, actually with some limitations, because I have a prototype keyword, and that doesn't work so well with prototype. And it works well with Dojo and YUI, of course, and everything else too, because it doesn't do much. So this is, of course, a message too. Joose is not like an alternative to any other framework. It's just something you use extra. And more important, especially at this conference, is that it loves the server as well. And we actually do use it in heavy production on Rhino. And there's no reason to not work with V8 and SpiderMonkey. And when I first joined Sinterstrada, I worked on a C# project, and so of course I ported Joose to jscript.net, which was kind of tough. Yeah, I said that already. So it's been in production on the server side since early 2009, and it didn't crash too often. Getting back to why you should use Joose, strange loops are fun. They really are. And when you use Joose, you have really cool strange loops, and you have increased expressivity, which I call strange expressivity. And yeah, go for it. Give it a ride at code.google.com/p/Joose-JS. There's an ISC channel, and of course, everything's on GitHub. And that should be it. Thanks for listening. Visit my blog and follow me on Twitter. Any questions? Any questions? Yeah. I think the question was multiple inheritance. Of course, you can override the handle prop is methods or implement is or whatever and allow it to accept an array, but I didn't. Of course, what is possible is to declare as many roles as the class can do as you want. So you can, for traits, there's actually a mathematical model for composition, which avoids most or pretty much all of the pitfalls associated with multiple inheritance. And so you can use roles for that, and you should.
Thank you.